Well, good morning. We're glad that you're here to worship with us today. As we worship, we are in what is the Advent season, right? And so when we think about Advent, it's the definition of Advent is the arrival of a notable person, thing, or event. And of course, we know that the arrival that we're talking about is the arrival of Jesus. And part of the Advent calendar, what we do on Sundays is we kind of leading up to Christmas, we begin to talk about these things. It's the arrival of Jesus and how he brings along with him hope and how he brings along with him peace and joy and love. Last week we talked about how Jesus brings hope. Today I want us to think about how Jesus brings peace. Peace. It's one of those words that, we kind of, it's cool back in the day. We were like, hey, peace. Like, I'm out, right? Like, that's the way we would interact with each other. We didn't really know what we meant when we said that. We're just like, hey, it's a greeting, so peace. So we would say peace in the Middle East because there was always war in the Middle East, and it also rhymed. And so we use the word peace that way also. But when we talk about the word peace, we really mean something far greater than just simply a greeting. It's one of those things where when you don't have it, when you're not at peace, boy, do you know it. And when you are at peace, it feels as though all is right in the world. As a matter of fact, that really is the definition of the word shalom that we today have defined as peace. Shalom means a little bit more than just like everything is warm and cozy and everything feels like it's okay. Shalom means literally everything is in its place. Like perfection. The way things were intended to be is shalom. And so when we talk about maybe a loss of peace, it kind of leads us to this realization that things are not the way they ought to be. Right? Things have kind of gone askew just slightly. And because of that, our hearts just kind of begin to feel what might be the opposite of peace, anxiety. You ever feel that sort of anxiety in your heart? Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me, like we've got so much news out there. Our country is like divided, right? Inflation is skyrocketing. People are not at peace. Families are not at peace. This world is not at peace. Obviously COVID-19 and now Omicron is here and Christmas is here. But in some ways, Christmas also doesn't necessarily bring peace for many. It's supposed to. I mean, we're talking about the advent, the coming of peace, the arrival of peace. But our deacon Don prayed this morning. We think about gifts and we think about what we need to do to close out the year. We think about all the busyness of shopping and all the busyness of trying to get things done, and suddenly all that peace slips away. I shared with you last week, I kind of struggled with this. I was having a difficult time last week, waking up and not feeling like peace in any way. And that's new for me, right? That's not who I normally am, because usually for me, I'm the youngest child. So, I'm pretty carefree. I'm pretty laid back. I'm of the mindset everything's going to work out. And so, not being able to sleep at night, that's like really new. When I was a kid, we played this, we as one of our skits that we did at school, our class, we did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and they're like, oh, Joey, they called me Joey when I was a kid, right? They were like, Joey, you have to be sleepy, because you're always sleepy. I'm like, okay, great, thanks. I slept well. And then this past couple of weeks, it's been like anxiety. I was talking to my wife. Honey, I'm not sleeping well. I feel like my mind is racing. She goes, yeah, I think you're anxious. Like, I don't get anxious. She's like, I think that's what it is. The good thing is that it brings me to my knees, right? I'm like, I pray a lot more. So I'm praying, and she says, have you been praying? I'm saying, yeah, I'm praying. She says, yeah, are you praying for peace, or are you praying for everything to work out the way you want it to? And she's a wise woman. I'm like, all right, be quiet, stop talking. But it's true. And sometimes the way that we want peace is we want things to fall into place the way that we designed it to fall into place. Like the way I want things. But we live in this fallen world where things just don't work out that way. So in John chapter 16, verses 32 and 33, we hear this narrative of what Jesus says. He says, a time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home, and you will leave me all alone. Yet I'm not alone, for my Father is with me. I've told you these things so that in you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. Amen. So he says, there's a time coming, and it's actually here right now, where there will be no peace. Everyone will be scattered. They're all going to go. You're all going to go to your own homes, and I'm going to be all alone. That's an interesting thing that he's saying when he says, I'm going to be all alone. What he's saying is I'm going to be in a position where you normally will be completely anxious, and you will feel disjointed, as though there's no peace in your heart. Right? That's what he's talking about. When he says, there will be a time when you will leave me all alone. He's saying, if that were you, probably you will feel anxiety and fear. But he says, I've told you these things so that you would have peace in me. He says, even though outwardly it may feel as though you're alone, or I'm alone, it may seem as though I'm alone, my Father will be with me. And what he's saying is, in the same way that Jesus has peace in his heart because his Father is with him, even when he is all alone, you also can have peace because you know that Jesus is with you as well. He says, in this world, you're going to have trouble. In this world, things are not going to go the way that you planned. In this world, life will be a struggle and a trial over and over again, year after year. Even when you think that everything is going to work out and then suddenly things don't and you feel afraid, yeah, that's the trouble that Jesus is talking about. I don't think there's a single person in this room that doesn't feel that at some point in their lives. Like, honestly, we've got a couple of kids here, right? Even the youngest of them, even little Caleb, right, or Ariel sometimes. I bet you at their young age, they feel and sense some anxiety at times. Do you know why? Because we do live in a fallen world. There are things that are beyond our control. There are things that and as much as we try to kind of stack the deck for us and we try to make sure that things work out the way that we want them to, things just don't. Things are outside of our control. No matter how much we think, I'm going to make sure that things go my way, we try to control our circumstances. We just can't. And because of that, we feel so much anxiety and fear. In this world, you will have trouble. But Jesus says, take heart. Take heart, because I have overcome the world. He says, I have overcome the world. And when he says for you to take heart, because Jesus has overcome the world, what he's saying is in the same way that the Father is with me when I'm all alone, I will be with you when you feel all alone. So when you feel anxious, when you feel fear, when you have trouble, take heart, because I have overcome the world and I will be with you. I will be with you. That's the promise that he gives us. Right, in Matthew 28, when he says, go and make disciples of all nations, he says, baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and behold, I will be with you to the very end of the age. I will be with you. So take heart. Take heart. The psalmist writes, in peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Sometimes we get that mistaken. Sometimes I get that mistaken. If we have all of our leaders in place for next year, then I can breathe a sigh of relief. Thank God. All the circumstances that I felt unstable about, uncertain about, God has put into place. Thank God. No. You, O Lord. Not my circumstances. Not because things go the way that I planned or the way that I want. But in this world of uncertainty, you are the peace of my heart. So as an adult, I try my best to try to overcome fears of my life, right? I try not to be ruled by my fears. I think it's a valuable lesson just for me to, to even teach my kids, I don't want you to be limited by your fears. And so, I have a fear of heights. And so I try my best to, overcome that. The only thing, other than rodents, I'm you see a mouse, I'm out. I can't do it. But otherwise, everything else, I try my best, right? I try my best. And so we did one of these sort of things. You guys ever see this? This is like a ropes course, or they call it treetop adventures, or those sort of things. And you kind of have, it's like you walk through on these little obstacles, and you kind of have to hold on to things and try your best to get through it, right? Like I said, I have a fear of heights. But whenever I have the opportunity to, I try to do it. And as you're going, this is something that I realized. Sometimes they're these little blocks that you have to stand on that are literally just kind of suspended there, right? And you do whatever you as you're there, you're I'm terrified as I'm doing it. And I hold, I grab whatever I can grab. And I realized that that's sometimes part of the problem. In this world where we have trouble, kind of walking through these things, whatever it is that we grab, or whatever we can grab, we just grab because we think that's going to give me peace, right? This is what's going to help me to feel a little bit more stable in this unstable environment. And so we grab it. And the truth is, those things are not very stable also. Right? When you're holding on to those things, it's not stable. This is what I realized. Sometimes you have to let go of what you're holding on to in order to hold on to something more stable. Right? There's these ropes that kind of come down here, and you're holding on to it, and there's another one that you really are supposed to hold on to, and you're I can't reach it. This thing that I think is giving me security is actually holding me back. In life also. These things that we hold on to give us stability, these things that we hold on to think that is going to give us security, are actually holding us back and preventing us from holding on to Jesus instead. The one and true foundation of our lives, the one and true solid rock that we can live on. But what we do is we hold on to our finances and we think, as long as my investments are going well, as long as I have enough in my bank account, as long as the market is doing all right. Or we hold on to our children and we think, as long as their grades are up to par, as long as they make this team or that team. Sometimes we hold on to our own, we hold on to our own looks or our appearance, and we say, as long as I don't have, any crows, or as long as, my complexion is, like, all of these things that we're holding on to, honestly, it's like shifting sand. No actual, genuine stability or foundation. And so that's the reason why we all suffer from anxiety and fear. There's a lack of peace in this world because we're holding on to the wrong thing. We're holding on to the wrong person. How do we get peace? Jesus says in John, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. It comes from Jesus. The peace that we are seeking, the peace that you are seeking, comes from Jesus. My peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. It's not something that we are at the source of. It's not something that the circumstances can give us. He says, I give to you not as the world would give, because that's the way that the world gives. The world gives based on our circumstances, that peace. The peace that we receive from this world is whether or not, people are upset with me, whether or not things are going my way, whether or not my boss likes me. That's where we find our peace. Jesus says, I give you peace. I give you peace. Where does that peace come from? And the effect of righteousness will be peace. And the result of righteousness, quietness and trust forever. The effect of righteousness will be peace. Now, there are two ways to read this. There's the right way and the wrong way. The wrong way is to say, so I need to be righteous. The wrong way is for us to say, that means then everything depends on whether or not I am righteous. I can have peace if I am righteous. I won't have peace if I'm not righteous. And that's not how to read this. In light of the gospel, the way that we read this is this. Jesus has given us his righteousness. And even though my righteousness fails, I have peace knowing that Jesus has died on the cross for me and has given me his righteousness. My peace I give to you. The way that the world reads it is, if you're good enough, then you can have peace. If you're righteous enough, then God won't punish you, and then you can have peace. If you do enough good deeds, then God will love you and give you favor, and then you can have peace. That's not the gospel of Jesus Christ. The gospel of Jesus Christ is this: you are not able to be good enough. You're not capable of being righteous enough. But Jesus has laid down his life for you, that you would take on his righteousness in faith. And so when he says, my peace I give to you, what he's also saying is, my righteousness I give to you. It makes all the difference in the world. The result of this righteousness is quietness and trust forever. What he's saying is, when we learn to put our faith in Jesus Christ, we learn to finally understand what peace really is. Before this, when guilt ruled our lives, when sin ruled our lives, it was impossible to be at peace because there was God's wrath that was looming over our heads. It was impossible to be at peace because there was guilt that was weighing us down. But now that we have the righteousness of Christ, we can finally grasp what peace really is. So that in this world we may have trouble, but we could take heart because he has overcome the world. So when Jesus says, my peace I give to you, we receive it as a free gift that he's given us. But we also want to remember this. When we celebrate the advent of Jesus and we're celebrating the arrival of peace today, we also look forward to the second advent. We look forward to another time when we experience a true, deeper peace than we even experience now. So in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 6, it says, the wolf will live with the lamb. The leopard will lie down with the goat. The calf and the lion and the yearling together, and a little child will lead them. And what he's saying is this: there will be a time when natural enemies will finally be at peace. There will be a time when all of the things that were at once at war will finally come and be settled in the Lord. He's looking forward, pointing ahead to a time of genuine peace that we can have when Jesus returns. Brothers and sisters, sometimes it's difficult to keep that in mind. Sometimes it's difficult for me as well. But praise be to God that we can look forward to the advent of Jesus and know that there will be a time when all this pain, all the brokenness of this sinful world will finally be gone. The wolf will live with the lion, with the lamb. The leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the yearling together. Peace, true, genuine peace, is the promise of our God as we hold on to him and we eagerly await his coming. Let's pray together.